Hello and welcome. This is Roofmonger, and this is my beginner's guide to Samurai Shodown. So SNK has been very gracious and has granted me an advanced copy of the game. So what I'm going to be doing here is to show you what Samurai Shodown is all about. So I'm going to be going over a lot of the gameplay flow, just how a lot of stuff works. You know, basic offense, basic defense, movement, supers, because that stuff matters a lot in this game. And I'm just going to be going over all the basics to help you learn this game. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Now, before anything else, I want to get this out of the way because I feel this is a very big deal, and this is kind of the point of the game, is this is a throwback to kind of how things used to be in fighting games. So this is a much more slower, more measured pace game. Like, I want to show you, this here's a basic hit. I didn't do anything special. That's not a special move or nothing, right? That's a single hit here. And it does that much damage in one move, right? This game is a lot slower paced than a lot of more modern fighting games you might be used to, especially say if you come from like Dragon Ball Fighters or something, right? This is very much a throwback to how things used to be. So this is a very slow pace, but not like slow in a bad way, but just like a measured pace, footsies based game here. A lot of people have, very respectable range on a lot of basic moves here. Like this is just a basic stand medium, and you can see that's got a lot of range. Stand heavy hits from that far away, right? So a lot of characters have a lot of big range on their moves, and even basic moves tend to do a lot of damage. Combos are not as important in this game. Not to say there are no combos, right? Like here's a basic example. So in this game, combos are more kind of that speed. Not to say there is more advanced stuff, that's a very basic example, right? But combos are not going to be like a giant thing into a dash cancel, into a launch, into a recombo, or, big old wall combos or something like that. Combos are fairly simple in this game, and the game plan is simple. And simple, once again, I've said this a million times, so like my catchphrase on this channel, simple is not a bad thing, but the game plan is very more measured, and the more patient player, the smarter player in terms of positioning, all that stuff, is definitely going to have the advantage. So first up, let's just talk the basics of movement and how movement works. So obviously, hold back, you walk backwards, hold forward, you walk forwards. This game has runs, so that's just double tapping forward, that's a run. Everyone can run. Different characters run at different speeds. More agile characters definitely run really fast, and some bigger characters run really slow. Just to show you, switching to a bigger character, even Earthquake, he can still run, even if his gate's a little bit different. Once again, also on movement here, backdashes are universal. And even Earthquake, he can backdash pretty quick, right? And there's jumping and all that kind of fun stuff. There is some non-standard movement. Some characters can double jump. Some characters can jump off the wall. And hey, Earthquake is a character that can jump off the wall, just like, say, Chun-Li or Vega in Street Fighter. So these are options for mobility. And also, depending on characters, while it's not basic movement, some people have stuff like teleports that can kind of circumvent the usual form of movement. So movement is pretty varied in this game. So now to go over the basics of offense. So this is a 4-button game. We have lights, we have mediums, we have heavies, and we have kicks. So you might see some people refer to these as like A, B, C, and D. These are probably more old school players. Or you can say they're L, M, H, and K. Whatever works for you, that's fine, but this is a 4-button game. So for each basic move, we have the standing version, as you already saw. We have a crouching version, so if you're crouching on the ground, the move will be different. We have a jumping version, which, makes sense, right? We also have running versions. So of the buttons here, every button has a different running version of the move. So keep that in mind. So a lot of characters, a lot of their run-specific stuff becomes very valuable and can really vary up their offense, right? So running attacks are just as important as all your other stuff. Also keep in mind, because this is, playing like a classic style game, like a lot of classic style games, there is close and far versions of moves. So this is me doing stand heavy far away, and if I'm up close, the move changes. So keep in mind, when you're close or far away, the move will change depending on your distance. Now, for some other basic offensive stuff, we do have a universal overhead. So these are attacks that must be blocked standing, and if you're crouching, they will hit you. That is medium and heavy attack together, or if you're playing on a controller, it is set to L1 as a shortcut. We also have throws. Now, these throws are more like guard breaks, because the act of the throw itself does not do any damage, as you can see here. But what it does do is guarantee a hit. So depending on the character, you get different things, right? Certain characters can get bigger hits, certain characters can't get bigger hits, they have to settle for less. But unlike your traditional throw, consider this a guard break. When you chuck them, you'll basically get a free hit on them. And this is done by the kick and heavy button together, and if you're playing on a controller, it will shortcut to R2. Now, also, depending on the character, quite a few characters have them, but depending on the character, you also will have command grabs, just like, say, Zangief in Street Fighter, right? This will vary character to character, like this is Darley's command grab. So these tend to come out quite a bit quicker than the regular throws by a couple frames, at least by my initial judgment playing around. You might want to test that around because it might be different character to character. But yeah, so everyone will have a guard break that will guarantee at least one free hit, even if it's a bigger hit or a smaller hit. And some people do have command grabs. Now, one thing to note, the guard break has a lot of recovery. So like, this is the fastest possible I could jump after whiffing a guard break, right? So if you're going for a guard break, you better make sure it hits, because if it whiffs, you're gonna get hit. Now, quickly to note about offense, you can be disarmed in this game, so your weapon is no longer in your hands. And when you're in this state, for the most part, this is light, medium, and heavy, they're all the same move. Your offense becomes much, much weaker. Also, your defense as well, just so you know. So it is always within your prerogative when you get disarmed to go pick up your weapon as fast as possible. Now, keep in mind as well, something like this. When you are disarmed, yes, you'd obviously lose command of all your normals, but some people can do special moves even without the use of the weapon, right? So that will be character to character, so check that out. Also, since we have Darley as our example here, Darley has a move that only works when she is disarmed, and it's, let's say it packs a wallop. So watch out for that. So for the basics of defense in this game, this is a back to block game. So hold back or down back to block, just like, say, Street Fighter or Dragon Ball FighterZ, right? So there's no button you need to hold the block in this game. Now, to note here, just like many classic SNK games, this game has just defense. So what happens here, this is a regular block, right? If I block a split second before the attack comes in, you can see that bit of a blue flash there, right? And also, if we look down here at my rage gauge, that's the super meter, you see I gained a little bit of bar. So the bonuses here of just defense is you will get no chip damage, because there is chip damage in this game, just so you're aware, and you'll also gain meter. So it is always within your prerogative, if you're able to block at the last possible second and get the just defense. Now, on top of that, you also can attack out of just defense. So older players might call this an alpha counter. If you're a newer player, you might call this a V reversal, but just to show you really quick. So all you have to do is hit forward and light and medium at the same time after you just defend, and you'll get a free counter attack. So if you're playing on a pad, that defaults to R1, just so you know, that's the shortcut for that. But yeah, if you just defend the move here, if you wait till the last possible second, there's nothing they can do about it, they just got to take the hit. So this game also has the dodge. Now it's just light and medium together. And once again, if you're playing on pad, that defaults to R1. So the dodge is a fully invulnerable move. So you just don't get hit while you're doing it. Also, keep in mind, unlike many other games that have this kind of mechanic, you cannot get thrown while doing this as well. If you are, say, old school player, then you probably know this from a lot of older SNK games. If you're more of a new school guy, well then, you might notice this. This is like Vidal's reversal in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So yeah, it basically makes you invulnerable. So what is the weakness? Well, one, it has a little bit of recovery, just so you know. So you are not invincible at the very end, and it doesn't seem to be invincible on frame 1. So if someone's just in your face and, just hammering on you, you might not be able to dodge right away, and you might be able to get counter hit out of it, so watch out for that. But still, if you know a big hit's coming, it's basically an invaluable defensive move, and then you can just smack them in the face after they dodge the move. Keeping on with our defensive mechanics, so we also have an advanced parry, a deflect. So this is a lot more advanced than just our basic just defense, because all you have to do is hold back, right? That's this guy right here. Now that's quarter circle forward and light and medium together. Once again, that's R1 if you're playing on pad. And this will deflect the enemy, as you can see right there. Also, if you manage to deflect a heavy attack, then it will also disarm the enemy. So this is a very invaluable tool. Now also, after you do the disarm, you can basically do whatever you want. The frame advantage you have is pretty much total, and you can just do whatevs. Up to and including getting your super off. So if you get the right read on a parry, man, the enemy is going to pay because, hey, yo, supers do a couple points of damage in this game, right? It is a very, very, very strong tool to get the read. Now, once again, there's a ton of recovery. It's very easy. The window is not that big, right? It can only stop weapon strikes, so if they try to grab you or something, you're going to get got. Like, there's obviously quite a few downsides, but the upsides are incredible. Also, with the parry move here, if you yourself are disarmed, doing the same motion, you will do a blade stop move instead. So, no matter what the attack is, it'll disarm them, unlike, say, just heavies with the previous parry. As you can see, you just grab their weapon with your bare hands, rip it out of the hands, kick them out. And also, keep in mind, his weapon is now over here, making it very difficult for him to get back to his weapon. And when you are weaponless, you're generally always at a disadvantage, so it's a really strong reversal of fortune. Also, this game does have a combo breaker mechanic. That is the Rage Explosion. So we're going to go more into detail with that a little later on, but just to show you a basic idea here. So if I get comboed here, this is a standard combo for Genjuro. It's a very simple combo once again, but still a standard combo. If I hit the Rage Explosion while I'm being hit, I just say no and I knock him out of it. You will be fully invulnerable. You can do it while you're being hit and it will push them back. And the pushback is also unblockable, so if you're getting hit, no matter what, it'll just knock them right all the way back. So, there's some caveats to this, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the Rage section, right? But the Rage Explosion is effectively a combo breaker. So now let's talk the Rage Gauge and super moves here. These are incredibly important aspects of the games, and proper utilization of these will basically win you or lose you the game. So let's talk here just first, the Rage Meter here. So that's this guy right here, right below the characters. So this fills by one of two ways. You getting hit, so as here, as I'm beating up on Jubei here, the more I hit him, the more it builds up. Or by you doing the just defense technique we showed earlier in the video. These are the main ways to build your Rage Bar. And once it's filled up, stuff starts to happen. So now we have our bar filled up here. And first thing here, the most immediately obvious and powerful thing, is all your moves straight up do more damage than they used to here. So the character, whatever move you do, will do 20% more damage than it did before. So even a fairly low damage character here like Rouge Yang, her damage gets pretty respectable off basic hits here, as you can see. So 20% damage across the board for being in the rage state. So this is something that's a very big deal and you want to make the most of it. Because we're in training mode right now, so I have it set to last forever. But this mode doesn't last forever, right? It'll only be up for a set amount of time and then it'll disappear back to zero, right? So when you are in this mode, you want to make your big plays. Another thing that's very important about having a full rage gauge is moves can be EX'd. So many fighting games, when you EX a move, you're generally spending bar or spending some sort of resource. And in this game, the moves will be EX'd, quote unquote, when simply by being in the rage gauge. You don't lose the resource or nothing. The moves will simply be enhanced while you're in the rage gauge. Now, this won't be for every move. And if you go into your move list, you can see which ones will be enhanced or not. But just to give you an idea here. So here's Poppy. Here's quarter circle backlight attack. And Poppy, faithful dog that Poppy is, gives you a nice little dog headbutt. But let's see what happens when we're in rage. So now we're in rage mode, and let's see what happens with the exact same move here for Poppy. Poppy dunks you like there is no tomorrow here, and a lot of flashy lightning on top of that. So it'd certainly make Ryu Hayabusa or Zangief proud, because this dog spins you down something fierce. And all you have to be is in rage. You don't got to do anything special. The motion doesn't change. The move simply gets better while you're in rage mode. Another thing that being in rage gives you, besides more damage and better moves for some characters, is gives you access to the first of your 3 super moves. And this is the Weapon Flip Super. So this is done by doing quarter circle forward, medium, and heavy together, which is also, if you're playing on pad, the L1 as your shortcut. And this one's, flashiness depends character to character, right? But the big thing here is it does a fairly good chunk of damage, and it always disarms the opponent. So you don't have to worry about strict timing on a parry or nothing like that, or a blade stop or whatever. You will always disarm the opponent if you hit with this weapon flip technique. So this is a very strong technique, and yes, you can combo into it depending on the character. And once again, combos are fairly simple in this game, but still, you know, if you got the hit confirm, it works. And then you disarm the enemy and you kind of really go to town. It's a very, very powerful technique. The second of our 3 supers, and definitely the most flashy and, you know, most damaging of all of them, and by quite a bit, is the super special. And that is done by doing forward, half circle forward, and kick and the heavy button together. And see here, a lot of animation going on here. Poppy coming down like a hammer. And these do a lot of damage. This is not even the most damaging one, by the way. These do a lot of damage, but what's the catch here? So, as you notice, when we started this move here, we had no resource, so we're not in rage. We don't need rage for this move. You can do this move the first second of round 1. And you got to say, well then, what's the downside, right? If you can do this right away with no resource, what's the downside? Well, one, the move is quite slow to start up here. While it does have some invulnerability in my testing, it is definitely not right away. So it is very easy to get smacked out of it, right? The only real way I can see to guarantee it in a combo situation is to get your parry off. And the other big thing, besides, you know, being slow and definitely very punishable on block, is it's once per game. Not per round, per game. You use it, that's it. Like I'm trying to do it right now. It ain't coming out. We're done. So if you use it, hit or miss, that is it. You're not getting it back. So you better believe in it is what I'm saying. It's obviously super damaging. Like the minimum it'll do is usually 65%, and more, you know, other characters might do a bit more, right? So it's a fantastic and oppressively strong move, but it's one and done, and that is it. So hit or miss, you can completely whiff the move. It doesn't matter. The move will be gone. So while it is wildly powerful, it is also an incredibly limited resource. Now, the final thing we have here is the Rage Explosion. Now, the Rage Explosion, honestly, is probably the single most important mechanic in the game besides just attacking and blocking, right? So what is the Rage Explosion? So if you hit your light, medium, and heavy button together, and if you're playing on pad, that is L2 is your shortcut, you enter this state here. Now, you might notice there's this bar that's kind of taken down. And when it disappears, hey, the mode's over, right? So what this mode does is it forces you to be in rage. So you can have no rage gauge at all. You hit the button, hey, now you're in rage. And you will get the damage buff, just like rage has, except it's going to be an even bigger buff. So normally here, we have a 20% damage buff in rage. While you're in Rage Explosion, it'll be 40%. So it's a pretty significant buff, to say the least. Also, while you are in the Rage Explosion state, you will gain access to the Lightning Blade Super. So all you have to do is hit the ABC button again here, and you'll just, wow, rush forward and massive hit. And this move will do damage based on how much bar is left. So if you have, say, not too much bar left, like you're waiting for the end, and you're just, you know, enjoying your benefits of extra damage, all that kind of fun stuff, you won't do as much damage. But what this move is wicked quick and invincible. So while you're in this state, forget about things like jumping at the opponent, because all they have to do is just hit a button, and that's all there is to it. Also, looks really sick. Like every character's got their own little bit of animation, and I love the look of it. It's just fantastic. It's death on block, just so you know. So don't be doing this expecting to get away safe if you get blocked, right? But it is a move where while you're in this state, basically due to its invincibility and quickness, you are not allowed to jump. You're not allowed to whiff buttons. You're not allowed to do anything that's reactable, because you will just get got and take a nice chunk of damage. Also, in case you just skipped ahead because you're using timestamps, the move is also a true combo breaker, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. The move will stop any hits you're being in, unless you're getting like in an animation like a super or something, right? And the knockback is unblockable. So if you just don't want to be hit anymore, if you're getting comboed or being pressured or whatever, there's nothing they can do to stop it. Now, all these things said, well, it sounds fantastic, right? Like, you gain access to a really cool move, you do a lot more damage, it's a combo breaker too. What is the possible downside? Well, you might have noticed here, I don't got a rage gauge anymore. And that's it. This is not a per round thing. You use the Rage Explosion, you have no more rage gauge at all for the rest of the game. So if you use it as like a combo breaker on round 1, and that's it, and you manage to get really nothing off of it, that's it. You're in a marked disadvantage for the rest of the game because you have no more rage bar, which means no more bonus damage. You have no more weapon flip super potential because you need a rage gauge to do it, right? You just can't do a dang thing. So while it is wildly powerful and lets you basically become a supercharged boss version of the character you already are playing, without it counting, then you kind of just screwed yourself over. So at least in this very early initial stage of the game, I would highly recommend try to save it for the last round or for a really big game-winning opportunity, because if you just blow it early on and you don't get much out of it, well, then you just basically crippled yourself for the rest of the game, because the rage gauge is such an important feature of the game. And yeah, that's the basics of Samurai Shodown. So once again, it's just kind of a slower paced, neutral heavy game, but not to say you can't circumvent that in some ways, because, you know, not many games have the big guy, you know, it does all the big hits, like this kind of stuff here. Generally speaking, they're usually not wall jumping, teleporting guys, right? You can do a lot of crazy stuff here, and they have also rare archetypes here, like we have a trap zoner here, so if you go over the bamboo pit, you're going to get smacked, and, you know, all sorts of fireballs to harass with and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of a rare archetype in fighting games, right? So there's a lot of varied playstyles to have, say the least, right? Varied characters are very different, very cool. Like, look at this super. I'm just going to let it play. Look at it. Isn't that cool as hell? Like, really? Yeah, so there's a lot of playstyles to mess around with, so, you know, play the characters, find what works for you, but yeah, this is the basics, and in that, I hope this video helped you. So that's it for me, that's it for this video, so thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Samurai Shodown.